Good day. I'm Martin Gago with Market Radius Research. It's Thursday, December the 1st, 2022. We've got a full crew with us this morning from Goliath Resources, CEO Roger Rosmus, and he is being joined by two senior geologists, Manuele, or Lili, I believe, Manuele Lazzarotto and Russ Ashton of Goliath joining us as well. Goliath is an explorer of precious metal projects in the prolific Golden Triangle of northwestern BC and also in the Abitibi Greenstone belt of Quebec, both world-class geological settings in good, safe jurisdictions that are very amenable to mining. But please remember, this is neither a recommendation or investment advice. We're here to learn about Goliath Resources. Roger, Lili, and Russ, thank you very much for joining us here today. And please tell us about Goliath.
Sure, Mark. Thanks. First of all, thanks very much for having us for the afternoon, and also the folks that have dialed in to view this webcast. And again, Lili Lazzarotto, senior geologist, was part of the original discovery team of the Surebet zone, and Russ Ashton, again, another senior geologist, essentially with us for the last couple of years, running all the drilling that's taken place at our Surebet discovery. So on that note, in a very short period of time, we've taken this discovery up the ladder very, very quickly. We've spent roughly $20 million in the ground, just over 30,000 meters of drilling. And, what we have confirmed is mineralization over a 1.6 square kilometer area. Of the holes that we've drilled to date, that's a 97% hit ratio. It's like 66 of 68 holes put within this 1.6 square kilometer area. And in this mining business, exploration, that just never happens, or it's very, very rare. So we feel it's a very unique discovery, something that hasn't been seen before. We've attracted institutional and strategic investors that include Eric Sprott personally, and as well as Crescat Capital. And from a senior miner looking in at this discovery, we tick all the boxes. You'll see through the presentation. Again, world-class geological setting, geopolitical safe jurisdiction, mining friendly, certainly with First Nations, the Tahltan and Nisga'a. They're all about the business. And as well, we've got infrastructure close by. We're actually sitting on tidewater that takes us to Prince Rupert, where you've got a deep sea port. You can send material out to the ocean of the Pacific, or rail, which can take material right across the country in Canada. And then we have exceptional metallurgy. We're getting a 98.2% recovery rate, of which 38.1% is free gold. So that's like no cyanide from gravity. And a potential mining scenario would be just a basic gravity flotation system at a very low capex. And with that, I guess I'll get into the presentation. Everyone can see the deck there, fine?
It's looking good.
Okay, great. So again, we're on track with the discovery of the Surebet zone, as well as the Golddigger. Forward-looking statements. By way of background, investment banker, mergers, acquisitions, been at it probably closer to 30 years now. Founded the company in 2017, took it public, I guess it was October 2017. All my board members I've worked with in various capacities and known them for 15, 20 plus years, all very successful in their own right. The new addition to the family is Dr. Quentin Henning, who is an advisor to the company. Very grateful to have him part of this world-class discovery as we advance it up the value curve. He's been extremely helpful with opening up his Rolodex, getting us in touch with the right type of people to help us, formulate ideas and plans to, again, plan for success, and as we move the project up the ladder. And then Bill Chornabay, also advisor, project manager, plus the individual who came up with a syndicate idea to stake all this property many years ago. He's got multiple multi-million ounce deposits essentially associated with his name. Shares outstanding, we're just about 73.5 million issued and out, fully diluted. We're about 115 million shares. If that was the case, that would bring an additional, call it $33 million of fresh capital into the treasury. Currently, we're sitting about $2.5 million of cash and receivables. And with that, we've got about $1.5 million of warrants at 28.5 cents expiring December 11th. Which may have caused some of the selling here yesterday. We're not really sure, but I guess we can delve into that later. That's primarily owned by Crescat Capital. My understanding that they are going to be exercising those. So we'll be most likely seeing the funds very shortly in the coming days. And then there's another set of warrants at that total about $4.5 million. Average strike about 87 cents. Those are primarily owned by Crescat Capital and Eric Sprott. And assuming we continue to deliver, excellent results, which we have to date with batch 1 and batch 2, sets of assays from the drilling, I would imagine that, they're going to be exercising these warrants. So potentially we have visibility on, call it $6 million of additional fresh capital coming in through the treasury between now and March the 5th. As far as volume goes, we've traded about, call it 49 million shares in the last 52 weeks. If you look at the share capital, you carve out the financing I did earlier this year, I would suggest we've turned over the float at least 3 times. So I think a lot of that fast money is now out of the story, and people coming in to buy the stock are now more in line with management and the team to advance this discovery for the longer term. As far as location wise, I'm sure most people know the story, but we'll touch on it anyways. We're down here just southeast of Stewart in the bottom part of the Golden Triangle. Again, within the SK Rift, which is a world-class geological setting. You've got Grand Duke, the Premier Mine, the Bruce Jack, KSM, the Antiochs, on and on. So a lot of these have been very large discoveries and mines that have gone into production that have made quite a bit of money. Here's a close-up view here of our Surebet zone on our Golddigger property. Just off to the west from the Dolly Varden access road. Dolly Varden is a neighbor here just off to the northeast. And I should point out this red line here. It's there on purpose. It's not a road. It's actually a contact point between the Stahina and Hazelton volcanics. So the reason why it's so important is in the Golden Triangle, a vast majority of deposits have been found within 2 kilometers of either side of this contact point. So as you can see, it essentially goes right along our Golddigger property and right through, right by the Surebet zone and right through our property. So again, we're in the right postal code. And then the bottom part of the screen here, Kitsault, is a town that we occupy during the season. So we're not building a camp. It's an old ghost town. It is a town that was built originally for the Moly mine back in the 80s, which was in operation for a very short period of time. And essentially is a ghost town now because the Moly mine went Chapter 11 CCAA. And so this place houses up to 300 people at this time. And you can see here the tidewater access. We have these 2 fjords on either side of the project. Again, we could use barging that takes you to Prince Rupert on the west coast.
And so just to clarify on the red line there, if you're 7 kilometers from Dolly Varden, you're what, 3-4 kilometers, 2-3-4 kilometers from the red line? Correct. Yeah, whereabouts. Yeah. Exactly. All right.
And then here's just a close-up of the access through the barge, take you to Prince Rupert, 190 clicks away. And then you've got the rail, again, that takes you through Terrace and then right across Canada. High tension power is 25 kilometers away as well. And then the road from Terrace up to Kitsault. So you can drive here from Terrace about 3.5 hours, and then you can fly to Terrace in about an hour and a half, an hour 45 out of Vancouver. There's 3 or 4 flights a day.
And just in your little region with Dolly Varden next door, while Dolly is exploration right now, that's an old producing mine. So there used to be a ton of mining right in your even your neighborhood on your block around
Correct.
there.
Correct. Yep. Exactly. So, and I think they just did a 40,000 meter drill program, or they're just completing that program. So it was a very, very busy area for sure. And Hecla is in the areas also. So they've got some other property. So it's a very busy area. Again, the jurisdiction's great, and the ability to find some of these newer type of deposits, or let's call it systems, I guess, potential deposits are showing themselves. And really, the only reason why this hasn't been found before is because it was covered under glaciers and permanent snowpack. So due to global warming, it's melted and has now shown, the beautiful brand new outcropping rocks that contain, high-grade gold and silver. Okay, so just go back, I guess, in time here. Just what's, within a very short period, call it total of, well, to date now about 6 months, but up until the previous, or they call it the maiden drill program in 2021, I think we only spent maybe 15 man days on the ground, channel cutting the Surebet zone. And the uniqueness of this system is you've got essentially 700 meters of vertical relief. So down in the valley, you're looking up, you can actually see the Surebet zone outcropping, pinching and swelling at, sort of 40 to 50 meters wide. It's hosted in the Hazelton Sedimentary rock group. And then within that, you've got this high-grade shear zone, which is, anywhere from a meter up to, 8-9 meters of this high-grade mineralization of galena, sphalerite, pyrrhotite, pyrite. So you could actually trace it. You could put your finger on this thing for 1 kilometer up the south slope, it peaks, and then you could put your finger on it down the north slope for another 1.1 kilometer, which is a very unique in geological terms when talking to, some of the more technical people with 30 plus years, is they've never seen this type of continuity in their entire career. And so with the 2021 maiden drill program, we did 24 holes, just over 5,000 meters, all 24 holes hit. More importantly, we hit off the real deal pad, which is a 1.1 kilometer step out down to the southwest. So roughly the average width is 6 grams gold equivalent over 6 meters. We talked about the metallurgy as well. Again, we're getting 38.1% free gold, a total of 98.2% recovery. And speaking with Quinton and his people, they believe like it would be a prime candidate for a bulk flotation where we could produce, or the operator could produce, like 2 ounces per ton gold, about 55 ounces per ton silver, and around 13% lead.
The mountain there, sorry, just going back, it's hard to tell from this angle, even are we looking directly down on it? How steep is that mountain face there?
Well, yeah, the north slope is pretty steep, so we couldn't really set up drills on the back side here. This is not as steep, and ultimately, we had 25 drill pads this year, so it's not, let's call it not unattainable, but there's only certain areas where you can set up pads. So if you want to hit a certain part of the system, you're just going to have to drill longer holes, because you just can't go on just pop pads safely anywhere along the mountain. But certainly we're able to deal with, what Mother Nature has given us. So again, here are the results from 2021 maiden drill program. Again, a little bit of copper, a little bit of lead, a little bit of zinc, 4.35 grams gold, 104 grams silver. Should note to date, with the batch 1, batch 2, this number has actually gone up half a gram. So it's actually almost 4.75, 4.8. And then the silver's come down to about 75 or 76 thereabouts. And again, the average gold equivalency is, in line with our 2021 numbers. So, when you and I were talking offline earlier, why did everyone sell off yesterday? I have no idea. Basically, certainly when talking with the technical people after the news was out, they're like, hey, what's going on? Like, your numbers are great, seem to be in line with your 2021. And, it's anyone's guess as to, what caused this massive sell-off, which I do believe was way, way, way overdone, because we're, every hole that we come out that hits mineralization, I guess 66 out of 68 holes over 1.6 square kilometer area. I mean, you just don't see that anywhere.
You were also drilling on the periphery of the area as well. You weren't digging into you're trying to find some of the boundaries to the resource deposit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the potential resource deposit.
Yeah, potential.
Again, the holes were on the periphery, so we're looking when you're exploration. So again, this has never been drilled before until we came along, and we need to understand the system as to, okay, where where can we, where does this thing cut off? What is the angle? So we're, doing lots of work on orientation of the holes as they come through, and plotting those up. So once we have everything in the system, batch 1, 2, and 3, we'll be able to put like a really good model together that what we think is happening here. Because what we are seeing is we're seeing multiple zones. So we're seeing a zone above the Surebet proper. We're seeing zones below the Surebet proper. So it could be a situation where we have other linear type of bodies below and above, as well as maybe there's just splays coming off the system when it was initially formed. So again, as the data rolls in, we're going to learn more and more about the system. And so,
as a sense of scale, how big, how many meters or kilometers across is this? What we're seeing here with all the drill holes?
Sure. Well, from here to here to the peak, so this is bird's eye view looking down.
Yeah.
Is about 1.3 kilometers from here, from the tip down to the base here of our Cloud 9 structure, which is mineralized as well. Same type of looking mineralization and textures. And then from the north slope all the way down to the south slope is about 2.2 kilometers. But ultimately, the area that we're defining is 1.6 square kilometers. So that would be 1.6 million square meters. The specific gravity is 2.903. And let's say you take an average width of 6 meters, that'll give you your tonnage. And then you can apply whatever grade, what you think the grade might be at the end of the day. And then divide that by, I guess, 31.1. That would give you potential ounces gold equivalent that are there. Certainly, I think that's what Quentin Henning has used for his math. And I think that's published on one of their PowerPoint presentations on their webpage. So Crescat, I guess their guesstimate or their target is for us to hit sort of around a 5 million ounce gold equivalent number. And on that note, for the drill program, we did hire SRK, and they're a global firm, arm's length party. Simon Dominy, who's a world-renowned resource modeler, who was actually a reference from Quentin. Obviously, the team and the Quentin was involved in putting this program together with the idea, the main focus to put infill drilling to potentially have an inferred resource by the end of the season, assuming all the assays come in, so on and so forth. So we could be in a position for an inferred resource, or certainly the technical community could take our data, that we published on our webpage, and come up with their own number of what could possibly be there as far as potential maiden resource. Yeah. So here, just quickly, the black traces are the 2021 holes. All the blue turquoise is the 2022 holes. And as you can see, drilling up to the eastern extension here, pad A, where we had visible gold. As well, we had visible gold from the South Cliff step-out pad also. And, our initial thoughts of, potential source, we thought is sort of down dipping here to the southwest. And also we're thinking maybe another possible source is this northeast trending fault, because we're seeing some very high grade, high concentrations of galena, sphalerite, pyrrhotite, pyrite. So those four main elements, when you see it, you know it's going to run. Ultimately, you got to get assays and what have you. But this does remain open, and so we're going to. I do have a slide here later, just showing you what our potential plans are for next year, assuming everything else runs. Like pad G here to be released in batch 3. I think we just I think it was just over 70 meters of galena, sphalerite, stringers, some semi-massive, massive type of sections in there as well. So, which would hint that, hey, maybe, there's another feeder zone coming off here, this northeast trending fault. And then here's a sort of a visual 3D model. Again, we've got the 700 meters of vertical relief. Here are all the holes punched to date. So this is the model that Russ has put together. Again, what we're seeing is these additional layers of our zones of high-grade mineralization. So we don't know if it's a continuous body that's sort of going down dip with the Surebet above or below, or are they like splays coming off of the Surebet zone when the system was being formed. So I guess I'll have to stay tuned on that. And then again here, just off to the east from Pad G and Pad A, where we're getting, visually it was very good. Pad A was a very good hole that delivered, some double-digit numbers on intercept as well as on the grade.
Can you just remind me again, how many after this drill program, or you've already drilled it, how many total holes have been punched in here?
In total?
Yeah, over the 2 years.
Oh, well, basically they're going to be, we've got 66.
Okay.
Well, there's 68, but the other 2 holes, the reason why it's not 100% is we got unlucky, and 2 of the holes actually went straight into a dike, or went into dikes. So we didn't intercept the Surebet zone, unfortunately. So in my mind, it's still 100%, but obviously we got to report those other 2 that we went into dikes. I think that was in the news release as well, but that's the only reason why it's not 100%. And again, it's exploration. It's, nothing's guaranteed. So what we've got here is a Pierce Point map. Again, this is looking down, bird's eye view of where you see the dots is where the actual holes are intercepting our model Surebet zone. And with that, the technical community does the gram meters. These are 25 square meter blocks, and just to show you the distances between the Pierce points. And this is how they typically would sort of kind of come up with a back of the envelope type of calculation as to what possibly might be there. And I guess once I'm done here, I can, Russ has got a model he can pop up on the screen and just kind of show you a little more detail of the zone, the system, what we think is going on here. So again, just to reiterate, we've outlined this 1.6 square kilometer area. And again, these holes we just announced batch 2, they're on the periphery here, everything in the red box. The balance of the holes, they're in the blue boxes here. Pad 13, real deal. West, we got this Pad G off to the east. And then these green boxes are potential scouted out areas that we can put drill pads where we might, do some additional infill drilling, and then as well off to the east, northeast, and possibly, expand the system. Because, if this northeast fault is one of the sources of this system, then, logic would suggest that, it would continue off to the east. And we are seeing, some really nice, we did see some great numbers from Pad A here. And then obviously from Pad G, where we're actually seeing outcrop vertical type of structures similar to Cloud 9 and real deal. And that's why we put that Pad G out there. And so here's this Pad A that had the VG, almost 8 meters at 21 grams gold equivalent. South Cliff step out. Right here again, visible gold. That was 11 meters, 24 grams gold equivalent. You can see the gold numbers are quite high here. And then again, talking about what are the weighted averages to date, we're basically in line with the 2021 results. So right now we're, just call it 5.33 meters wide at, call it 6 grams gold equivalent. And you can see our gold number has gone up. Silver has gone down slightly, but I'd rather have more gold than silver in the system, obviously, because that's where the value is primarily.
What is sort of the orientation? Because you're up on a mountain, you like theoretically, once you get hopefully to the point where you don't have to dig down, obviously, you're going to be drilling presumably into the side of the mountain and kind of better access that way once you start putting in tunnels there. Is the orientation of the veins and that going down or kind of horizontal?
Yeah, it's down dipping at a 35 to 40. Basically, what we know right now from data to date is like a 35 to 40 down dipping structure. So yeah, in a mining scenario, they would just put some adits in the side of the hill from the valley and just use gravity, just blast and fill type of thing. So as opposed to drilling down, putting a shaft in for like a kilometer or 2 and having to pull all this material up to surface.
Yeah, so again, you don't have to haul it up. You let the gravity take it down.
Yeah. So again, another one of those things that tick the boxes for a potential senior miner looking at this discovery. And then Russ can show you more on that once we finish up here. Hit this point here. yeah, so in summary, 97% hit rate, 66 of 68 holes have hit. This, again, this galena, sphalerite, pyrrhotite, pyrite. So we know when we see that, we're going to get definitely some grade there, and obviously, depending on the extent of the concentration, will determine, the total intercept. And again, in this system, it's sitting within the Hazelton sedimentary rock group, and that pinches and swells 40-50 meters. So that is actually mineralized as well. We don't even talk about that very much because people want the high grade, so we're just focused on high grade. But when we initially took the channel cut, or when Lele took the channel cut back in 2020, it started in the Hazelton Seds. I think it was like a gram. He can correct me if I'm incorrect, but it's like it started in a gram, went through the high grade shear with the sphalerite and the galena, and then we ended in the Hazelton Seds, and I think it ended in like 2 grams gold equivalent kind of thing. So the host rock around this is mineralized as well. So again, we don't need to have 10 meters or 20 meters of high grade material. I mean, this thing works at, call it 6 grams gold equivalent at 6 meters over 1.6 square kilometer area. I mean, that's massive as far as tonnage, potential tonnage, and potential potential maiden resource once we can continue to infill and increase the confidence level in the missing spots within our Pierce Point map. Also, 56% of the holes drilled this year are greater than 10 meters that have this high grade type of mineralization that we're seeing visually with the galena, sphalerite, and what have you. I think we already talked about the resource level drilling, calling in experts. With that, SRK was on site for 2 weeks. We took a number of their recommendations prior to the season starting, which we implemented. They came in, did a QA. They were very happy, very satisfied with what we're doing as far as reporting assays from the previous year, this year, and other items that we've implemented on their recommendation were also acceptable. They're quite happy when they left. And one of the comments from one of the individuals was I had not seen any type of a system with this kind of continuity in their entire career. And this person has been in the business for 30 plus years, been all over the world, and was actually quite blown away with the Surebet zone. And again, it's super visual looking material. Here's the rep sample from the 2020 channel cut. Here's the hole from our South Cliff step out, which was our headliner hole from batch 1 set of assays. And then the bottom right is a channel cut from the eastern extension zone. So you can see it's basically the same mineralization. Logic would suggest that it's coming from the same source or same sources as the rest, the whole area in total. So based on the success of what we're seeing, we thought we should probably really expand our land package. The reason being is there's quite a few glaciers that are melting at a rapid rate, where we're seeing brand new outcrops of rocks, or what we call it showings. And we're going to go and check those out next year, and possibly find some new Surebet style type of mineralization in those areas. And then lastly, I guess really the gold swarm zone, so 4 kilometers to the north of the Surebet zone. So we're up here where we're seeing, again, similar looking. Well, it's the same looking mineralization, same kind of grades, a lot of galena, a lot of sphalerite. The only difference is this one's dipping at 80 to 90. We think maybe it could be like another kind of a carbon copy of the Surebet zone, other than the dip. And, you can see here, half, 0.55 meters, you almost get 30 grams gold equivalent. Another channel cut, 0.4 at 25 grams gold equivalent. So we can see this alteration for about 1 kilometer. We can see outcrop of about 450 by 150 meters. And then we got, some grab samples. So this one's here, 54 grams per ton. And then visually, essentially, it's the same thing here. So, as I'm saying, the Hazelton Seds on either side, and then within that, you've got this high grade shear of, again, 1 meter up to 6 meters, 8 meters, depending where you are in the system. Again, everything's pinching and swelling. We're seeing the same type of mineralization. We're seeing a shear exposed at surface here in red, which the plan is we're going to go and drill this thing next year. And here are some possible drill pad locations. The red is where we're seeing the exposed shear zone at Gold Swarm. There's another smaller one here, but we'll check that out next year, and we'll see what Mother Nature will provide us. And again, here's just a sample. Here's that 54 grammer gold equivalent compared to the Surebet, the 2020 channel cut. Essentially, it's the same looking rocks. So just wrapping up here, here's our basically our chart here from 2020, the discovery, 2020 kind of assays, a nice high here in July. They always seem to peak out in July. We did obviously some drilling. I raised the money, this 4.6 earlier this year that paid for this drill program. And we had a nice little movement here, and this is July, August timeframe. I think most juniors experienced the same sort of downdraft. We were able to buck the trend a little bit here and get some recovery with announcing drill core visuals. And then just more recently, we had a 52-week high of 174 based on our batch one set of assays. And then, I think we're trading here with whatever 110, 108. So a bit of a pullback. I'm not sure why. I could drive myself crazy trying to think why. But there's, multiple scenarios. So, we'll just have to sit tight, wait for batch 3. And again, we'll be able to put a nice, concise model together once we have all the data and all of the, orientation and measurements and so on that, at the time of this announcement, that people can really understand the robustness and the predictability of this system. So with that, I will. Ben?
Yeah, the third batch, is that like a 2022 event, or that maybe slip out into January of next year?
Yeah, at this point, the labs have been pretty slow, and basically, we're most likely we should have everything sometime early January, sort of mid-January is what we're thinking. And it's one of these things, you get it, and it takes like a couple, week and a half to get all put together and make it all sense, make sense and make all the images and the maps and so on, the videos. So it's not an overnight type of a process. It's a much longer process. So, if we get it early Jan, maybe we're looking, sort of mid-Jan for the news. For
okay.
batch 3. Yeah.
Okay, so just rough timeline for that. Great. That was a question from the audience as well. With your, and paraphrasing a couple of questions here in the audience, what is your current cash balance, and where does that take you to in the coming year? You're obviously visualizing a new drill program, at least kind of one on that new area. What do you? Any thoughts on that, the financing side?
Sure. Well, essentially, the current cash, and I think I mentioned earlier, it's about $2.5 million with cash and receivables. The receivables is about $500,000. It's we used hard dollars that we spent in the ground. I guess it was last year, so that we'll get that check at some point, probably Q1. But as far as a G&A, that'll last us for a long time. As far as the campaign for next year, we're not obviously we won't know that answer until we have all the assays and where do we want to drill next year and how many holes and so on. But that'll be formulated, in the post batch 3. Yeah.
All right. And okay, so sort of milestones and timeline for the coming year. In January, we'll get batch 3.
Yeah.
There is a chance that this could turn into an inferred resource. Are you going to go down that route, or maybe not? Because once you sort of put a pin in it, then, or would you maybe want to collect another year's worth of data before putting something like that out?
Yeah, right now the current plan is to do go back at it again next year, see what, the drilling provides us. And then if it makes sense, do we put an MRE together? I always point to, Great Bear taken out for whatever, north of $1 billion plus without a resource. So that would be a great thing to happen as well. So if we could follow that footstep, the same kind of model, that'd be great. If not, we'll put an MRE together if it makes sense. But again, we don't want to cap it at this point because it remains open.
Yeah,
we don't know how big it is, so we don't want to cap it, and we want to make this as provide enough pierce points and enough confidence from the drilling that this thing is X big and could possibly be bigger.
All right. I know there is you have sort of addressed it, but someone's asking here if you were disappointed in yesterday's results.
Not one bit. Again, as I've been saying all along, if this system is only 6 meters at 6 grams gold equivalent over 1.6 square kilometers, I mean, that's pretty much, actually it's north of what Quentin is suggesting as a possible resource. So, where do you find a potential 5 million ounce gold equivalent company that's got hit on 97% of the holes, trading at less than $100 million market cap? So I think there's still some pretty big upside to the story. I guess people need to go and reread all what we put out there. If you go back and look at a bunch of the news releases where we're announcing visuals, you can see the galena, you can see the sphalerite, and the other, the total of the 4 elements and the intercepts that we're getting from these other holes that are in part of batch 3. So I'm not worried at all. I mean, obviously disappointed the stock went down for whatever reason, and it is what it is, and we'll just exploration is not a detailed kind of like a, but 1 + 1 is 2. It's it's Mother Nature, and we have to sort of bob and weave with what we get.
Yeah. And in your district, you do have other properties. You've got some stuff in the Abitibi Greenbelt.
Sure.
Is that at all are we going to see those projects move forward, or any news coming out of that, or are you just 100% focused on this area?
We're 100% focused on this area because this is the company maker.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to have those on the back burner for the time being. And once we get the Golddigger to a certain, I guess, level, potentially we get taken out at some point by senior or mid-tier, then we can go and work on some of these other areas of these claims that we own.
Yeah. Would you not to be overly promotional here, but you've got some, call it smart money in the company already. Are you having other discussions with other seniors or other smart money types that are kicking the tires, so to speak?
Yeah, I just spent almost 3 weeks on the road. Just got back last week with all various shows in Zurich and London and Zoom calls with many people. Smart money, let's call it, and they're a bunch of them bought stock yesterday, so I guess that's a good thing. And I think we'll continue to attract these type of people because of the nature of this discovery. It's big, and it's moved up the ladder very quickly. Return on investment for shareholders has been amazing. Coming from a 20-cent, $3 million market cap. From 2020, 2019 to I think we peaked out at $120 million market cap recently. So and I do see us getting back there quite easily with the continued success from our drilling.
All right, and someone's asking here: will the other projects get spun out into a new co or anything, or they'll just kind of put on the back burner until this project gets more on its feet or has its own real direction?
I mean, if something happens with obviously with the Surebet and the Golddigger area, then we would certainly look at maximizing value for the shareholders, dividend out, kind of do a butterfly out the other properties that we're not getting any value for, and it'd be a Goliath 2. Maybe we call it David.
David wins. So
yeah, well, there you go. So
all right.
yeah.
Well, with that, are there any other, we're going to wrap things up here, any other comments or things you want to bring to light here before we call it a day?
Sure. I don't know, maybe Russ, you want to just throw up the model and just, give I think it's, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah, sure. Let me just pull it up.
Thanks, Russ.
Yeah, just as Roger was saying, we have the outcropping on the south side of the Surebet Ridge, which is just coming up here. So you can put your finger on this and actually trace it all the way up the ridge. And then it also goes down the north side. So it's about 1 kilometer up the south side and 1.1 down the north side. So just to give it a spin so you can get an idea of the topography, most of the drilling is on the south side where you can actually build pads. But then the north side is quite steep. Accessing through here is a bit more technical, and there's only about one place on the north side that we actually found we could actually build a pad. So we'll drill this in 2023 on this side. This outcropping allowed us to build our preliminary model, which we've been using for the 2021 and 2022 drill program. And so using this plane, we were able to do our 2021 program, and everything was very bang on with the 2021 with this plane, just because, again, you can see that outcropping around the south and to the north. And then we did our big step out down to Real Deal, and that's where we started noticing a couple multiple zones popping up with that hole. We still used this plane for our 2022 drilling. And so all the holes that are within the main Surebet zone here, most of them hit along this plane, but there were multiple zones that we were hitting above and below. And so as we move more to the west of where the outcropping that we can see is, things are getting more complicated. So as Roger said, once the data as the data is rolling in, we're going to be reconfiguring the main part of the model to fit what's actually happening on the side. Of note as well, Roger pointed out that on the east side of the northeast fault here, where we have pad A and pad G, we also found very similar mineralization as the Surebet zone. And it remains open to date to the north and to the east. So there is the idea that this northeast fault has offset part of the Surebet zone, or is also or is the feeder zone for the mineralization on both sides. Our highest grades are coming from around pad A area, as well as over near the cliff zone area where we had the visible gold found over on South Cliff Step Out, as well as before we even started drilling, we were finding multiple float boulders with high grades down in this area too. So this is part of our 2023 drill program where we're going to be expanding this area, as well as drilling into this fault more to get an idea of the potential for this being the feeder. We will still be drilling a number of areas to the west of our Real Deal fault to get a better sense of what is going on here. The intercepts do get bigger as we move more to the west. So this is of interest to figure out exactly what's going on there. And aside from that, anything else you wish to
what is your theory on like the feeder zone and where that is and sort of feeding into this? And then any drill holes to punch in that maybe aren't looking for mineralization, but maybe clues to sort of structurally how the whole thing works?
So, I mean, structurally, when you look at the actual mountain itself, we have major folding happening within the Hazelton Seds. The deformation is quite large. We're in the area where we're having the higher grades, and then the folding gets tighter and tighter and tighter until we hit the contact with this pluton. the initial idea for the feeder was that the mineralization was maybe following a contact up with the Pluton until it hit a point of weakness, potentially between the Hazelton volcanics and SEDS, and then moved into a bit of a thrust fault shear zone that was kind of just connected through the folding up the mountain here. So that was the kind of the initial idea for what we were chasing last year, was to try and find the feeder zone that way. But based on drilling that we were doing on the east side and west side of the northeast fault, and the grades that we're finding, the higher grades are more in this area. So we know that this northeast fault is mineralized based on the hole that was punched through it, as well as outcropping. And we know that this Cloud 9 and Real Deal fault are also mineralized. So the feeder zone might still be, it's going to be below for sure, but it might be more in the northeast quadrant of the area compared to maybe being down below the Pluton itself.
All right. That's a great model there. Interesting. All right. Well, that's a great way to end things off with one last shot for any final comments here.
I see a couple of questions. We're probably going to punch maybe, sort of up to half a dozen holes that are kind of 1,000 meters straight down to see what the heck's going on below the decks, as Quentin calls it. The mothership could be there. So we'll try some of those as well in relation to possibly, testing that those possible source to the northeast fault, and as well the one off to the west as well. So we've got lots of work to do, lots of planning, and we wait patiently for round 3 of our batch 3 of our assays, and we can start putting everything together and making some qualified determinations for the best course of action for 2023.
Yeah. And I guess your drilling window, depending on the weather, BC has been a little unusual this year. That would be sort of May, June, things, there's enough snow melt, and then you work from, call it July 1st, hopefully through the end of September, that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, we'll plow the road end of May, be there 1st of June. And then, we just unpack and go, because we're not having to build a camp because we've got the town of Kitsault. And we can start, building pads down in the lower parts, like down in the valley area. And then as the snow melts, we can move up the mountainside.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. I appreciate the time. I appreciate giving us all an update on the story. It's great.
Great. Thanks, Martin. Thanks for organizing this. It was great.
Thank you very much. Cheers.